Okay, everybody. So it's obviously February, Valentine's Day. And since my long discussed but never shown Omega Rangers video is still being worked on, yes, that thing is going to end up being a real monster. I figured I needed something a little more chill and easy for February's video. Last time I did this kind of screen recorded tier list video it was just every Power Rangers character tier list I found on the website. That one was pretty well received, so I thought it'd be fun to just do another one. Though, I noticed that, the Power Rangers tier list things on Tier Maker, they're all kind of the same exact thing. There are a lot of rate the seasons, rate the Red Rangers, that kind of thing. So I thought it'd be fun. Well, I decided to just kind of take matters in my own hands, and make my own account and kind of just make my own. So I figure it'd be fun. Maybe if you guys want to suggest, oh, sorry, that's my cat. Loki, I'm working. Loki. He's kind of climbing up the sound booth I'm in. Well, we'll just deal with that. Anyway. So, I thought I'd just make my own account on Tier Maker, and maybe you guys can suggest, if you want to suggest, casually, what you'd like to see on Tier Maker. I can make stuff, and you can do your own, and, just have fun along with me, because there's nothing more fun than arbitrarily making lists and spreadsheets and ranking things. And I don't want to go into what that says about me. So, for the first one I figured appropriate for the month, a Power Rangers ships tier list, for, Valentine's Day. And, because something I feel like people get wrong about Power Rangers a lot is they think that it's a very chaste and romanceless franchise, which is not true. It's never true. And I think it's only gotten that reputation because of the whole Rangers don't kiss thing, which is kind of true in a way. We haven't had a real kiss since, in the show at least. There's a lot of kissing in the comics. We haven't gotten a legit kiss since Tommy and Kimberly back in 1995. Icons that they are. Though we've had a lot of cheek kisses and general kisses since. And like I said, the comics actually have a lot of kissing. But no, there is a ton of romance in Power Rangers, even if it's not the most physical. So, and because of that, I wanted to set some guidelines for ships in this tier list, because otherwise there would be so many options, and that's way more than I wanted to work with. Especially when a lot of these love interests are, just one-off, one-episode things. So before you get in my comments and go, oh, but what about X ship? What about this love interest? I made this based on specific guidelines, which you can see in the tier list. Obviously, the ship must be canon, and it must be mutual. So, no fan ships, no Skull and Kim. They have to be, even if they don't end up in a relationship in the series, they need to like each other. And since a lot of Ranger ships are with minor characters or non-Rangers, canon ships with a side character, they have to appear in more than one episode/issue. They can't just... Oh, one sec. Loki, put that down! Loki! Anyway, yeah, sorry about that. So as I was saying, if the ship is between a ranger and like a side character, or if it's a ship between like two side characters or whatever, they have to appear in more than one episode / issue of comics. Which I thought was a good rule until I realized how many side love interests appear in 2 episodes. So I kind of picked and choose. I kind of chose based on just personal vibes at that point. And no repeats with show versions versus comic versions. For instance, there's no show Tommy and Kim and then comic Tommy and Kim, though I do have, obviously I have Tom Burley and I have Draken and Ranger Slayer since they're different characters. But like no alt Scorpina and Adam, no show Adam and Scorpina, that kind of thing. Basically just to keep things fair, to keep things balanced, to keep things just more varied. And so even with those guidelines, we have a pretty good number of ships to rank. So let's get started. Okay, so first up is Adam and Rocky, specifically the comic version. Okay, we're already starting off on a weird one. So, yeah. So this one, I think, came out of nowhere for pretty much everyone who read the Darkest Hour finale because, if we're being honest, this did come out of nowhere. People tried to tell me that there were, like, hints built up across the series, which, like, I like to think of myself as being good at counting, at being able to spot when writers are trying to ship things, or like they're trying to tease at a ship, specifically between a gay couple, because despite how things are more normalized now, or at least they should be, but the comics have had gay couples. They've had this is not like a new thing. They never tried to make it seem like they were hiding the fact that they had gay couples. And I've said before in my Darkest Hour review, I grew up in, the era where they had to hide their gay couples, and you could only know if they were gay through specific writing choices. And I never saw those specific writing choices for Rocky and Adam in the comics. They always, whenever they got focused, because God knows they barely did, whenever they got focused together, it was very basic, like comedic relief or just, friends. But Darkest Hour, when they finally got a spot in the plot, they did get that scene where they were holding hands, and that was specifically mirrored to Tommy and Kim having a romantic scene, which is an instance of a writer, trying to frame a gay couple as romantic. When you parallel them to a straight couple, that's pretty obviously what you're trying to do. So I did count them as canon because I do think that was what the books were trying to say. So, for the ship itself, it's fine. The problem just comes from how it was not romantic until now. So because of that, it's hard for me to be invested in it as a ship because it was not a ship up until then. I like the idea of it is fine. They're really cute friends. I know they're popular in the show. So I'm sure if you're like a hardcore Adam Rocky shipper from the show, you'd be ecstatic about them being kind of canon in the comics. For me, they just did not do enough for me to get invested as romantic. If the event hadn't shuffled them off to corrupted status, like 2 issues in, and maybe gave them focus that showed them coming together as a couple, then that'd be like totally awesome. I'd be totally down for them being a couple. But as of right now, the comics did not do enough to sell me on them being together. But other than that, but the idea of them is fine. So what do I want to do? Obviously, I will not be keeping this as SABCD. I'll put maybe. Obviously this will be changed as we establish other ships. I'll call the not invested in. Okay. Next up is another Adam ship. Adam, specifically Coinless Adam and Scorpina. This was another ship in the comics that was hinted at more than confirmed. In true equality, a hetero ship that was teased but not confirmed, and then Adam went and died. Coinless Adam. This is Adam. For those who haven't read the comics, this is specifically Adam as he is in the Coinless dimension, where Tommy stayed with Rita and became the evil Lord Draken. But in a confusing twist, this is the Scorpina that we know, quote quote. She's Scorpina from the actual Prime comic universe. There was a whole thing where she gets transported to the Coinless universe and then boom, forgot that they stuck her there. So she's been part of the Coinless stories the entire run. It's really funny and it's really hard. It's not hard to forget that she's not Coinless Scorpina, that she's really Prime Scorpina. But anyway, so the point is, in the series Draken New Dawn, it was kind of teased that her and Adam were kind of starting to develop a thing, but then Adam horribly dies. But it was actually really cute. It was really endearing. And I know Adam and Scorpina is another one that's kind of in the show. I didn't add that on here because I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird how he was a teenager and she's a space alien, an adult space alien. I'm lenient on. I should probably be careful with my words here, but fantasy age gaps when it comes to aliens and fantasy creatures. There are nuances there, I think, especially if the alien / fantasy being is over the top 50 million years old, but they still act like a 20-year-old or whatever. If the human person is an adult and they're shipped, then that's fine. I don't care, because that kind of age gap can't happen in real life. But Scorpina and Adam, since Adam was a teenager, that is a little weird to me. Which is why I was kind of happy that Draken New Dawn paired Scorpina with an adult Adam until he died horribly. So that's why I put the Coinless one. It just kind of felt better to me. But anyway, yeah, Adam and Scorpina, I liked them for a short time they got. They were cute. I'll put them for now in B, and I'll just, what do I want to call them? I'll do cute, but short-lived. Like I said, these rankings will change based on how others get ranked. And finally, our last Adam ship, as we all know, Adam gets shipped with many people. Adam and Tanya. Adam and Tanya was ambiguous in the show, I believe. It's been a long time since I watched Zeo and Turbo where they were in, but it was one of those things where you think they were hinting at something, but ultimately nothing comes from it, and then no official material acknowledges them as romantic. So you have to assume they're not canon. But I know Adam Tanya is still a fan favorite pairing, even if they were never officially considered romantic. But in one of the collections of Boom comics, they were written by the actors. Like David Yost wrote a short story, Walter Jones wrote a short story, and one of them was by Nakia Brees. Sorry if I'm getting her name wrong, who plays Tanya. She wrote a little short story about Tanya saving Adam from a villain's plot, and it ends with him proposing and them becoming engaged. So good for her. It's been long established that Adam, or Johnny Young Bosch, and Nakia ship their characters, so I'm happy that she got to write her own ending and make them canon out of nowhere. So anyway, but yeah, Adam, Tanya, adorable. We love them. Cute in the show. I'm glad they got something where they were allowed to be married. Coming off of Amy Jo Johnson's The Return miniseries, which married Tommy and Kimberly, I just support any actresses who just kind of go, you know what? I make it my ship canon, and there's nothing you guys can do about it, because it's officially in canon material. So I'm going to put A, and I'm just going to say, love them. Okay, now we finally moved past Adam. Alex and Jen. Let's see. Alex and Jen are... It's hard to talk about Alex and Jen because, like, it feels like Time Force didn't really want you to be invested in them as a couple so much as they just wanted you to be invested in Jen's reaction, especially after the Wes-Jen relationship starts up and Alex comes back and he's like a total jerk because they wanted Wes and Jen to look better by comparison. Which on the one hand, it just kind of makes me feel sad for Alex and Jen in the first place because they never had a chance. Like, you weren't supposed to like them as a couple. You were supposed to feel sad that Jen was sad, and then Alex comes back and you're supposed to be like, oh no, what if Jen goes back to Alex and and leaves Wes all alone? So and then the backstory gets kind of weird because you learn that he was like her superior and trained her, and that makes a weird power balance. Which isn't a total make or break deal for me, but it does add a weird level to them. It adds weird implications to them that I don't even think the writers thought of. I'm sure they just thought, oh wow, isn't it so nice that isn't it so nice for Jen that or again, it's just aiding Jen's backstory. It's not meant to make their relationship look better. It's just supposed to explain more about Jen. So I'll put them next to not invested in. Or wait, actually I think I'm gonna do I mean, technically she did dump him. It was the whole point of the show. But I know I'm going to be saying that about some ships on here, and I feel like and that's kind of how I felt when you see those flashbacks where he comes up to her and he's like, "Oh, I'll train you. Hey." And you're just like, "No, Jen, get away. Quit being a cop. He's making you stay a cop. Don't listen to him." Okay, next up is Allie and Jack. For those of you who don't remember Allie, she is she's from the final couple episodes of SPD. She runs her dad is he runs the clothing company, and she gives away clothes to the needy, and Jack meets her and she kind of fuels his desire to leave SPD and work for her instead, or work for that company instead. And honestly, they're cute for, you know, a one-off ship. When I was rewatching like the episodes to find a good cap for them, they had good chemistry. I like how she hates cops because she's like, oh wow, a cop with morals, and I'm just like, yes, a cab queen. But yeah, they're cute. She serves the narrative purpose. I definitely wouldn't say I ship them. But she's memorable enough that it didn't feel like, oh, they didn't have to do this. So I'll put them in, I'll say cute but short-lived. Okay, Amelia. Oh, oh man. This one is interesting. Because if I made this video like a year or 2 year or 3, if I made this video a while ago, I would absolutely put Amelia and Ollie in like I hate this tier, which I don't really have like a hate yet. We haven't gotten into any ships I hate yet. But anyway, if I made this video years ago, I would definitely put them in like an I hate this ship tier. In fact, I was kind of planning to make a why Amelia Ollie is bad video before I had to go on break. But I mean, honestly, nowadays, I just think they're kind of funny. They're like funny in how dysfunctional they are. And like, and obviously the writers did not want them to be dysfunctional. They obviously wanted them to be like a Mulder Scully type, like conflicting views relationship where it's Amelia obsessed with like cryptozoology and the fantasy world, while Ollie is like straight-laced, always you know, into facts and logic, but then they come together anyway. That's really obviously what they wanted to do. They wanted like a slap kiss, oh, we bicker but we love each other type romance. And I think, and the way Dino Fury did it was bad. It was bad because it came off less like they were on equal grounds, like sniping at each other, and just more like Ollie would just kind of turn to her and like bully her, for lack of a better word, when she was just doing whatever. And it got even worse when like the season was like, oh, turns out she loves like the paranormal and stuff because like it's her coping mechanism for her lost parents. And when you get that reveal, it's like, oh, so Ollie was being such a jerk about something super important to her, and not just then something that wasn't just like, oh, a hobby, or she was just, you know, being weird. Not that it was good for him to bully her even when we thought she was just weird, but that just really added an extra layer to it, and they don't really acknowledge. Amelia doesn't react to his you know, his griping at her with a lot of, like, she should have fought back against him more is what I'm trying to say. Like, this was obviously very deep and personal to her and not just a hobby, but she barely ever fights back, and when she does, it's treated more like oh, that Ollie, he's annoying, and not like, hey, that Ollie is a massive jerk because this is how I connect to my lost parents. And I mean, the show does have him apologize, and they do get together like after he learns to loosen up and let her do her thing. So I'm not saying that the show like never addresses it. It's just that the build up to them didn't make me want them to get together. It just made me want him to shut up and let her cook. So like, if it was just Dino Fury, I would put them in Girl Dump Him. But then Cosmic Fury came out, and suddenly they were like awesome because he turns evil and she becomes the Red Ranger, And suddenly everyone just kind of acts like they're broken up, even though that doesn't happen. He's just evil. He's a jerk because he turned evil. And then you have Izzy being like, Amelia, it's your ex. He's attacking the Megazord. And it's like, wait, Izzy, why are you deciding that they're broken up now? And in general, they just should have played up the opposite sides tension more in favor, but instead they just kind of drop it, and then they like kind of get back later when he turns good again. But it's just I don't know, something about it was just really funny. It's like they just kind of their dynamic morphed into this weird like on again off again, where they're like super into each other, but then like the first time they have a real argument, they break up and like they hate each other, but then they get all super close again. And I like to imagine it's like a weird will they won't they cycle forever, which is not healthy, but it's really funny to think about. So all that to say, where do I rank them? Man, I don't even know. They're not even, I don't even know where to put them. Let me see. What if I did at a row above, I'll do I like the version in my head. And then I'll make this pink. Okay, I'll put them there for now. Yeah, I think that's good for now. Unless I want to do, no, I'll just keep it like that for now. Okay, next is Andros and Ashley, another classic. This one is interesting to me because when you watch In Space, it almost kind of comes off they're trying to be like Tomberly 2.0, where like the perky girly ranger immediately likes the loner long-haired broody new guy, and like only, you know, different colors obviously. But I think like to contrast how, you know, Tommy and Kim, obviously they get super into each other, where Tommy like goes crazy for her eventually. Andros barely feels like he likes her at first, and I get it's because Andros had a lot more going for him than Tommy did story-wise, because he had his whole thing with his sister, and then he had Zane in his refrigerator, and then later episodes do have him like her too. This isn't like, oh, he totally like does not like her. Obviously he does, and they get together. But I don't know, like I remember watching In Space for the first time, and the episode where Ashley gets switched out by Astronema takes her place in the team by like swapping bodies with her. She comes back, and Andros kind of like leaves the room to go check on Zane, and it's like, dude, you're not beating the you're not beating the allegations, Andros. It's one of those ships where I feel like obviously it was popular, and it's still popular, but like in the current fandom culture where people are more willing to like, I don't know, I feel like people are kind of starting to see Andros and Zane as more romantic, or at least as like the better love story, and thus Ashley kind of gets left out, which is, you know, a problem in its own right. It's not good to leave behind the girl for two guys, especially for a non-canon ship. But like the comics kind of played up Andros and Zane more as potentially being romantic, while while kind of ignoring Ashley and Andros being a couple. And like it feels like one of those things where if In Space ever really got like a modern adaptation, they would make Andros and Zane like a couple. I feel because like I do understand where people come from when they say that, because when you watch this season, it does kind of feel like Andros prioritizes Zane sometimes, and it doesn't feel like he really returns Ashley's feelings until he does. You know what I mean? And then it's like the show tries to be like, oh no, Zane is back, and he's jealous of how Andros is jealous about how Zane and Ashley are hanging out. Oh no, you know, a real challenger situation here. But I don't know. They're cute when once everything with Zane like is ironed out, and it felt like the writers were kind of letting Andros bond with like his actual team and bond with Ashley, and they get to act like an actual couple. They're cute. I have no problem with them, and I certainly don't ship Andros and Zane over them. I just personally, I think I would have liked to see more of like building up to Andros liking Ashley, and like taking her and kind of prioritizing her more before the episode where they officially hook up. Just like a personal thing. So where would I rank them? None of these really fit Andros and Ashley, because I wouldn't say I like super love them, but I wouldn't say I'm not invested in them. Maybe okay, I think I'm gonna do cute but missing something, and I'll move Coinless and Scorpion up here. I'll do them here. And yeah, I'll do not invested in them, because if Allie and Jack weren't a couple, I wouldn't care either way. Okay, yeah. Joel and Ms. Fairweather. This is one that really did not age well. I think I'm gonna put this in girl dump him. You know, ships where the guy is always going after the girl even when she's really not interested, that's never great. And while I don't think Joel was like the worst, I don't think Ms. Fairweather and Joel were like the worst example of this happening in Power Rangers. Like, you know, they're not as bad as Skull and Kim, which was terrible. It's definitely something that would not work. It didn't work then. It doesn't work now. And it's kind of crazy that for the longest time, this was the only romance to really get explicitly confirmed in the show to be married. I know Tommy and Kat had A Season to Remember, but that wasn't confirmation so much as oh well, maybe, you know what I mean? So yeah. Ms. Fairweather, I think you could have done better, or at the very least, Joel, you could have been written better in terms of this relationship. Anton and Elsa, aka Mesogog and Elsa. This one was also weird because, oh my god, did Elsa have all the Dino Thunder boys running after her? Because, like, obviously Zeltrax had a crush on her, but she hated him, which, okay, queen, he was a loser. And then she kind of liked Dr. Oliver, and they had like a weird, vague flirting relationship. But then also like she would also be flirty with Mesogog. And then at the end, during like the big prom scene, she and Anton dance together, which, I mean, like, if a character is in a prom scene together, then I'm going to assume they're meant to be like a canon romance. And like I said, Mesogog and Elsa were kind of played up, even though obviously it was really, even though there was like the whole, evil boss manipulated her mind and So, but I couldn't not have Elsa here because she was like so wrapped around romance. It was kind of ridiculous. But Anton and Elsa were the ones that seemed the most canon out of all of them. Honestly, I prefer Mesogog and Elsa in like a terrible way. So I'm just gonna put them in not invested in. They were just kind of like, okay. Trent, Elsa's your mom now. I thought that someone told me once that like the original plan for Dino Thunder is that Zeltrax and Elsa were gonna be Trent's parents, which fits a lot actually. But I guess I understand why they didn't keep it. Archerina and Gasket. Man, I don't know. What do I know about Zeo? I'm just gonna put not invested in. Man, Machine Empire was boring. I don't care. These two are kind of cute though because they're Tomberly colors. Oh, I just realized I spelled the name as Archina. Archina. Archerina. It's Archerina. Sorry guys, I don't know how to edit images on Tier Maker yet. Feel free to yell at me in the comments for it. Ari and Remy, love them. I love them a lot. The first legit gay pairing in Power Rangers franchise ever. It's awesome. I love them so much. Though I think I loved them a little more in their first story arc in the Beyond the Grid event because they had a little more meat to them, or at least Remy did. I feel as the series went on, Remy got kind of softened to Ari's emotional support girlfriend. Whereas in Beyond the Grid, she was like possessive. She was kind of like possessive and more ready to fight and was scared of Ari leaving her. Which gave their relationship a little more depth. It was a little more interesting to read versus how Darkest Hour just made her like the absolute perfect angel of a girlfriend in order to make her corruption to evil feel sadder. Which, is fine. The Solar Rangers weren't in Darkest Hour long enough to get invested in anything anyway. But just a personal thing. I still love them overall, though. They're great. I love them. Orange and purple. Great color combination. Just love them. Astronema and Zane. Oh. So I gave that whole spiel about Andros and Ashley, but I never see that kind of same thing with Astronema and Zane. That I see, people, you have people talk about how Andros is actually gay and really in love with Zane, but you never really see anything with Zane to that level. I guess because Zane is characterized as more of a playboy, for lack of a better term. He's more like flirty and his intro episode is literally flirting with girls, whereas Andros is more he's more like focused on Zane. He has more of like a one-track mind. So I guess it's easier for people to think that more about Andros than Zane. But anyway, Astronema and Zane, I think I'm going to put them right next to their sister ship as cute but missing something, because obviously villain hero ships are always great, and they were cute in their episodes together. I think when I say they're missing something, it comes from how they never get referenced again after In Space. Like, Corone comes back in Lost Galaxy, but there's no mention of Zane or any indication that she's with him in any way. So they would have been cute if they got followed up on. Maybe I should make that a category. Okay, so next is Blake and Tori. Oh, Blake and Tori, I love them. I think Blake and Tori are actually a really underrated romance in Power Rangers. Like, I never see anyone talk about them, but whenever I watch Ninja Storm, I'm kind of impressed at how, like, well established they are. Like, they have a cute introduction. They have good interactions, they have good interactions that really sell you on that they like each other. They have good chemistry. They have good episodes after he joins the team. I think a main problem with Power Rangers romances is that, like, they'll say that the characters like each other, but then, like, they'll never focus on them until, like, the big moments. You know what I mean? Like, I think this was the problem with Andros and Ashley. Like, like, they have the first scene where Ashley sees Andros and thinks he's hot, but then, like, nothing happens. Like, they never get any, like, focus episodes or anything, and they never get any, like, good scenes together until Andros is suddenly written like he likes her, and then, they have their relationship, and that's fine. But when there's no, like, build up, I have a hard time buying it. But Blake and Tori, they were great. Like, they like I said, they just had you can tell there was effort put into trying to sell them as a couple, even if they're an instance of a Ranger relationship that never gets confirmed as a relationship. I think that was just, like, a Disney era thing in general, where, like, they never outright confirm. The characters might like each other, but then they never make it obvious that they're in a relationship. Like, they ever became official. Even if Andros and Ashley and, like, Tommy and Kimberly, they never call each other boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were still obviously in a relationship through, like, their actions and stuff. And Blake and Tori didn't have that, which I think is a shame, because they, like I said, they were really good, and I never see people talk about them, even for as well written as they are. Also, them both being Blue Rangers is cute. Calvin and Haley. Man, what kind of karma is it that, like, one of the best acted romances between two of, like, the best, most successful actors in the franchise's history comes from goddamn Ninja Steel. Oh man, it is so hard for me to remember anything that happens in Ninja Steel, but Calvin and Haley, they were acted so well that, like, if the writing was bad, you could almost forgive it, because Nico and Zoe were, like, so good at selling it. Like, I know Power Rangers having bad acting is just something that comes with the territory, but when we get good acting, it really makes you go, oh, we really missed something if we have bad acting. So it's kind of hard to judge them. I'll just say, what am I have? I don't have, like, I guess Cupid missing something is kind of that's a little thing. I think I'm gonna say, like, row above. I think I'm just gonna be there. Fine. And I think, sorry, Allie and Jack gets shuffled so much. They're gonna go there. They're gonna go there, I think. Because I wouldn't say I didn't love them when I was watching the show. Well, because I don't want to say it's because they're an established relationship, because that's not a deciding factor for me. I remember getting annoyed at Calvin a lot. And in general, I remember getting annoyed at how little Haley ever got. So I can't say that, like, I have investment in them, or that I love them beyond them being good actors and beyond them just, being a cute couple. But I don't dislike them enough, or even I don't even think that they were badly written. I think they were fine. They were fine. They did their job. Candace and Skull. I'm gonna put not invested in. I really was not a fan of Candace and Skull. Not because there was anything wrong with them. I think I'm gonna add another add a row below. I'm gonna put bad gray. Painful to watch. I'm gonna put Candace and Skull down there because I can't say girl dump him because it wasn't bad in that way. It was just bad in how I didn't like how the comics tried to paint Skull as this super romantic dreamboat. Because I don't like the implications considering he's the more conventionally attractive of Bulk and Skull, because Bulk and Skull never got a lasting love interest like Skull did. So I don't like the implications there. And second of all, this fandom already has a hard time admitting that Skull's treatment of Kim in the show was really gross. It wasn't a case of it wasn't supposed to be a case of, oh, poor Skull, Kim always, looks down on him and doesn't. No, the show made it very clear that what he was doing was gross. And to try and downplay that, I just don't like it. That's why I don't like Skull and Kim at all. I think they're disgusting, no matter how much development Skull gets. And the comics making him this super romantic, nice guy, it was just kind of gross. It kind of felt like they were trying to erase that reality of Skull. Or even worse, kind of supporting the idea that Kim was mean to turn him down. You know what I mean? So Candace and Skull, at the very least, it kept Skull away from Kim, even though the Kim-Skull relationship really wasn't a thing in the comics, except for one arc, which was really weird. But it doesn't mean I liked seeing them together. I don't care about Skull's love life. I think it took up too much time in the comics that could have gone to, Adam, Aisha, and Rocky. Candace should have been Adam or Aisha's love interest, not Skull. It would have given one of them more to do rather than forcing more time onto Bulk and Skull. And in general, Candace was a good character, and I feel like, and in the end, she just kind of ended up a reward for Skull, and I don't like that. So yeah, really don't like them. Sestria, Billy, not invested in. I think it's funny that Billy ended up with a fish wife, though I think it's also kind of weird that of all the romances they could have kept canon, 30 years later, Once and Always referenced Sestria and Billy, as if anyone cares about Sestria and Billy. Meanwhile, Trini doesn't have a partner. Like Simon implied that Trini basically just had Min on her own, which is fine, but it's and Zach wasn't with anyone, and it's so you'll reference Sestria and Billy still being together, sort of, but you won't have Trini and Richie or even Zach and Angela. I don't know, very odd. But like I said, it is funny that he's it is funny that he's afraid of fish, but then he marries a fish. I think that's funny. Chase and Kate. Oh, girl, dump him, run away. Yeah, do I even need to say why? Like, it was the whole point of an episode that she needed to dump him because he was a jerk to her and she thought his suited form was more attractive, which, like, I get it, girl, I get it. Chase needs to stay away from women. And Kaylee should have been the Aqua Ranger. This has nothing to do with ships, but she should have been the Aqua Ranger. I don't like you, James. Danny and Kendall, cute. They were kind of cute, though they weren't really missing something. They just were a one-off ship. I'll just put cute, but missing something. I'm sure it's fine, I guess. Or maybe they're fine. Yeah. They did their job. Actually, I like their breakup, actually. Where she tells him they can't be together because of his ranger duties. I kind of like that. I wish that was how they handled Tommy and Kim's breakup. So yeah, my favorite part of them is how they broke up. But no, they were cute. They were fine. They were sweet. For as little as they got together. Dayu and Decker, girl, dump him. Decker is, his monster form is super hot, but no, Dayu, you just need to run. Get out of there. In general, she should have gotten out of there, but what can you do? Devin Cassidy, part of me wants to say girl dump him. I have not forgiven the writers for even thinking of making him the Triassic Ranger while she gets left behind. I think that's terrible. I think it's the epitome of a mediocre guy gets ranger powers while the girl gets left behind. I hate it. And it's but I don't want to like let that sour my perception of them completely. I'll just say not invested in, because like I don't really care if they're together or not. Okay, I think I'm gonna do with not invested in. That's like this is my category of like I don't care if they're romantic or not. Like if I would have no feelings, I would have the same feelings on their relationship if they were romantic or not, or platonic. I think that's a good description of this category, even if I don't really know how to write it down. So I'll just keep with not invested in. Okay, I think I'll change this to don't care either way. Okay, that's fine. That's good. Dominic and Fran, they were cute. The romance in Jungle Fury, I'll get to that when I get to that. But Dominic and Fran, I did like, they didn't really have a lot, but I liked what they did have. I think it's cute that they leave to go backpacking together. I like how Fran was the only one who liked Dominic because he was, a slacker loser. But I guess I'll go in there fine. I like their stuff together, even if I wouldn't say I really ship it. Draken Ranger Slayer. Oh man. I think I'm gonna make. Well, we know this is going to happen. This is not going to be a surprise to anyone, right? So I'm just gonna go. Sorry to spoil how Tommy and Kimberly are gonna end up, but like we all knew this, right? We knew this. Draken and Ranger Slayer. I think they are. Honestly, one day I'm gonna have to talk about Draken and Ranger Slayer just on their own because I think they are fascinating. Obviously I would love them because they're Tommy and Kimberly, but I think Like, they're awful together. They're terrible. Because Draken is terrible. And she wants to kill him. But I think, obviously, and she should kill him because he was terrible to her. But I like how the way they write their relationship in the comics is just so fascinating to me. And it's so great that I think they managed to pull off because they are definitely intended to be a complicated romance. Like, it was hinted at in previous books, and then by the end it was confirmed that at least Draken had feelings for her, while Ranger Slayer's feelings are more ambiguous, which again, as they should be, because he was terrible to her and he does not deserve her. But I think I just think the comics did a really great job of portraying them as having this complicated relationship without absolving Draken of his flaws. Like, you'll have ships, like Raylo, like Rey and Kylo, where it's like, oh, she sees the good in him and she can fix him, and that doesn't happen with Draken and Ranger Slayer. It was just more that like, she never tries to fix him. It was never on Slayer to change Draken, and the books make this clear. She never forgives him for what he does to her. But at the same time, his feelings for her are the most human thing about him, and like the last reminder that he is Tommy Oliver, because even in the worst possible ending for Tommy Oliver, he still loves Kimberly, and that is so insane to me. And they still have this connection, and it's like, it is as close as to saying they are soulmates than anything in anything else, that even in the worst timeline possible, they are still held together by this connection. And it is just so, I could talk about it for hours, I think. So one day I just need to make a video on them, but no, I love them. They're amazing. I do not agree with what he did to her. Obviously that was terrible. Don't call me, an enabler of abuse or anything, because what's appealing about Dragon Slayer isn't them getting together. It's just picking apart what about this relationship is salvageable and what isn't. And I think that's just so interesting. Dr. K and Ziggy, they're fine. I think Dr. K and Ziggy could have been executed a lot worse. You know what I mean? Like, the bumbling comic relief falling in love with, like, the straight-laced mentor who's bad at social life and stuff. That it could have been worse. They could have really fumbled this. They could have made him, like, disrespect her boundaries and push her, and they didn't. It was cute. The way they interacted was a lot better than I ever expected Power Rangers to handle a ship like this. So I think it's worth commending for that. Like I said, I wouldn't say I love them, but I think about what it could have been and be like, oh my god, this is really well written, actually. So, props for that, I think. Eddie and Vesper, man, I don't really think about Hyperforce that often. I try not to think about Hyperforce that often. I remember liking them back when I first watched Hyperforce, when it was airing. They were cute then. I really did not like them in how they were portrayed in the comics. I really hate to say it, but because I loved Vesper in the show, but in the comics she just got, I don't know. The comics kind of soured me on Hyperforce in general, and unfortunately Eddie Vesper is part of that. But I wouldn't say I hate them, so I'm just gonna say don't care either way. Just like Hyperforce in general. Emily and Mike, they're fine. Do I love them? I liked them a lot when Samurai first aired. They were cute. I think they were well written. Mike and Emily. I kind of judge if I love them, like if I think about them a lot outside of their season, which I suppose I don't. So I guess I'll just put them in there fine. They're cute. I think Samurai did a good job of portraying them as a romance. Even if, you know, even considering certain stuff about Mike. But no, they were fine. Oh, Eric and Taylor, love them. I think I've said this before, but Eric and Taylor is what Amelia and Ollie wishes it was. And it's kind of insane that they were only together for like 2 episodes because of how iconic they are. I don't know. They were just, something about them was just really, they put crack in this pairing. What do people say? Something about reheating nachos. Amelia Ollie tried to reheat Eric and Taylor's nachos, but the microwave was broken. Is that how people say it nowadays? But no, Eric and Taylor, they were so great. Even if they were technically rushed because like they go from arguing to suddenly like flirting, but like they were so good, we don't even care. And in general, like I'm surprised the show never did any more like crossover romances like this. I'd really like to know like why they decided to do this for Eric and Taylor and then never again. I don't know. It's interesting to me, like, because the comics will have some crossover ships to varying degrees of success, but Eric and Taylor is the only time this happens in the show. And that's interesting to me. Gemma and Flynn, I actually really liked Gemma and Flynn, even if they were only really in like an episode or 2. It's one of those, even though I'm not really into Flynn, I don't really care about him. I think he's a little exhausting with the Scottish thing. People think that's a lot funnier than it really is. But for some reason, I guess it's one of those situations where like the idea of them as a romance is so out of pocket or out of nowhere. Like you wouldn't think of, the silly twin and the Scottish engineer guy as a romance. And then when they pair them, they're so different, it makes them like interesting. And when they interact, and knowing that their interactions are so cute, it makes it more appealing. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I really like them. I wish they had more episodes together. They didn't really go far. So yeah, they were cute. I really like them. I wish they had more time. I wish they could be acknowledged more. Besides, even though I know RPM's main romances are Summer and Dylan and Ziggy and Dr. K, but I wish Gemma and Flynn could get more recognition too. Oh, Gia and Jake. Ooh, this is interesting. Because like I wouldn't say I really ship Gia and Jake all that much. Obviously, I love Gia and Emma. I actually like Jake and Emma more in terms of Jake ships. But like I've spent so much of my time in the Power Rangers fandom defending them as a concept, or at least defending Jake, because this one got hit with so many allegations of Jake being a creep and stalking Gia and all kinds of like derogatory things towards Jake, when that's not accurate to the show. In the show, he only tries to like ask her out once, and after that it's a very typical, they start to build on liking each other. He never stalks her, he's never a creep to her. That is pure fandom perception, and it's wrong. But at the same time, I'm not totally invested in them. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of them. But like I said, I care about them just because I spent so long defending them, and I don't want to rank them lower because it implies that I agree with the idea that it's bad because Jake was a creep to her, when it's not true. Honestly, I think a lack of investment just comes from how Gia isn't really a character. I'm sorry, guys. Emma is actually like a character, so her and Jake's episodes are like a lot more fun and a lot cuter. So, I wish it was Emma and Jake, not Gia and Jake. But, it is what it is. They're cute. Jake was fine. He was not a creep. So, deal with it. Isinia. Oh, yeah. Don't care. I mean, who likes Doggy and his wife? Yeah, no. I'm so sorry to women, but Isinia should have stayed fridged. She should have been Doggy's problematic dead wife. So then he could hook up with Kat instead. Yeah. I don't even hate them. There's nothing to hate. It's just that she should have stayed dead. And he should have gotten together with Kat. Because, well, frankly, the whole thing is ridiculous anyway, because why even is she still alive? It makes no sense. And I think they did it to give basically to give Kruger an award. They just wanted him to have something of a happy ending with not being the last Syrian anymore. But it's like, it just felt so out of place. It didn't feel necessary. And he and Kat Manx were way better. Thank you. Izzy and Fern. Oh, yeah. Love Izzy and Fern. The number one. Love them forever. So good. The couple of Cosmic Fury and Dino Fury. The couple forever. Just love them to pieces. I think the only thing bad I can say about them is kind of like Ari and Remy. As things went on, they kind of became like the perfect, very much a perfect relationship. I kind of wish they had done more with them being rivals longer, because like they were rivals in their first episode, and then that gets solved in the first episode, and then she's friends, and then they hook up. Also, I wish they could have gotten like an official like build up to them hooking up, rather than their hookup episode being a Javi episode. But these are all just like little nitpicks. They're great. They're wonderful. I love them. If you hate them, then you should be put on a list. Thank you. Okay. Next up is Jared and Camille, and yeah, I love them. I'm a little biased because I met their actors last Power Morphicon and they were really awesome. But no, Jared and Camille, they're another ship I don't really see talked about a lot. I guess because for a majority of the season it was Daishi and Camille, which is not on this list for obvious reasons. But no, they're really good. They had really good development, really good scenes together. Very they had a storyline you don't see very often on the show. And the only thing I would change about them is I wish Camille could be officially recognized as a Green Ranger, and that's it. But no, yeah, love them. They're great. Yeah. Jason and Kimberly, specifically from the 27... this is specifically the Jason and Kimberly from the 2017 movie, as that's the only Jason and Kimberly in the franchise that's actually kind of canon. Yeah, I don't care. I don't ship Jason and Kimberly, like, to begin with. I think they're boring. I think they're very bottom of the barrel, in terms of like, well, they're like the ship people would expect is canon, because it's the main guy and the main girl, and so it's just boring to me. I don't like it. It's boring. And the 2017 movie, it did its best to make them a romance justified. I think, well, at the very least, their dynamic was a little more interesting in the 2017 movie, but that's not hard to do because Jason and Kim's dynamic isn't interesting at all. Sorry, Jason Kim fans. But no, I really don't like it. But this was fine. I mean, obviously, if we had gotten a sequel where Tommy showed up, I would have fully been on Tommy's side for the inevitable Jason Kim Tommy love triangle they would have done. And I'm not going to pretend I wasn't happy when the kiss scene got cut. I was very, very happy. And the fan favorite ships of Trini Kim and Jason Billy that sprung out of the fandom were way better anyway. So I don't hate it because, again, it was fine. There wasn't anything wrong with it. It was just something where I looked at the writers and were kind of like, come on, guys, seriously? This wasn't necessary. It didn't have to be a romance, especially with everything else the 2017 movie was trying to juggle in just one movie. And I can just take it or leave it. Speaking of take it or leave it, Jason and Trini from the comics. If you haven't read the comics, they had like the prequel series Go-Go Power Rangers established that Trini had like a big crush on Jason in the before Tommy times, and they get together and have a little relationship for a little bit before they break up, and it's whatever. And also, if you haven't read the comics, this is one of 2 Trini ships that will happen in the 2016 series. The other one looks like it isn't for a while. And I'll talk about it more when I get to Trini and Zach, I think. But for just Jason and Trini in the comics, this was another one where, like, I don't care either way. I mean, it worked for what it was, or at least what it ended up being, which is just like a not serious first teen romance. Kind of like Jason and Kim in the 2017 movie. I don't really know why it was necessary. It was just, I guess it was just something for these two to do. I know Jason and Trini and Zach and Trini are kind of they're their own, like, you're either a Jason Trini fan or you're a Zach Trini fan. You think Trini should have ended up with either of those two guys. To me, Trini is a lesbian hardcore. She and Richie are a beautiful butch femme. But I mean, it just kind of was what it was. Like I said, just like Jason and Kimberly, you can tell I'm not very invested in Jason's relationships at all, except if they're Jason Zach or Jason Billy in terms of 2017. But yeah, I just thought it was what it was. I wasn't particularly invested in it, especially since we knew, because Go-Go Power Rangers came out after the 2016 series had started, and Jason and Trini weren't together in that. So, like, obviously, this crush thing Trini had on Jason wasn't going to last, and it didn't. And then, like, there was, like, a weird bit in, like, the later series where Jason seemed like he was interested in starting something else, but Trini wasn't really into it, and then she hooks up with Zach, and it's like, it just kind of felt like it didn't amount to much in the end because it wasn't meant to happen. You know what I mean? Though I will give it that, like I said, I'll talk about this more when I get to Trini and Zach. But I do kind of like how there was more of an attempt at, like, a dynamic between them. Like, they had conflict, they had issues that they worked through together. And on the occasion, they were cute. It wasn't just like like, you could tell the author shipped it, but he didn't try and make it seem like this super perfect, dream relationship. I liked how they were able to have some arguments from time to time and resolve them, which is something that Trini Zach in the comics did not do very well. So I'll at least give it that. I didn't hate it. It had its moments, but sometimes I would just kind of be like, okay, she's a lesbian, he's a gay man, and their marriage will change your views on love. Oh, Jen and Wes. Jen and Wes. Everyone loves you. What do I think of you, Jen and Wes? I think Jen and Wes, obviously it's written very well. It's, Aaron, they both acted it well. I believed they were in love. And I don't really care that he's her great grandpa or whatever. I like weirdness when it comes to like fantasy stuff. And like I said, obviously everyone loves them. They're like one of the Power Rangers couples. If you watch any of like the official Power Rangers YouTube channels, romance videos, they did like a top 10 ship video, and Wes and Jen were number 1 over Tommy and Kim, who were number 2. And like, I'm not going to be mad about that. I wouldn't say I love them though. I wouldn't say I was screaming, crying over them getting together. In fact, I kind of think I'm putting them in there fine. I think they lost something by future installments taking away their tragic ending. Like, obviously, Wild Force, as soon as Wild Force, they established that Wes still keeps in contact with the Time Force team and, like, they visit him and stuff. So that was, like, one thing. But then you have the Sins of the Future graphic novel that, like, I could go on about that. That was such a bad... But basically, spoilers for Sins of the Future. Basically, at the end, the whole conflict is that Jen feels like she can't be with Wes because of, what it does to the time stream. And it's like, yes, we knew that from the Time Force TV show. But in this book, she breaks up with him, and then, like, officially, but then, like, they get back together because they decide to solve the time nonsense that comes with their relationship by, like, doing all their relationship stuff in this dimension out of time and space where it won't affect anything. And I just think that's such, like, a cop-out for what the show itself set up as, like, a bittersweet, tragic love story. And I don't know, it kind of soured it a bit for me because it just seemed like too easy. And I mean, Sins of the Future in general was a weird book. It did a lot of weird things with the canon that I don't think anyone really likes. But it's hard for me. But like I said, even the show did it as soon as Wild Force, with them being like, oh, we can still contact them and we can still come out, visit and hang out. And it's like, the entire drama of Time Force is that they mess with time just by, like, being there. Why can't this have lasting consequences? They can end tragically, it's fine. It makes them more interesting as, like, a Power Rangers couple. But, I guess since they're a fan favorite, they gotta stay together somehow. I don't know. But them throughout the season, it's fine. I like when Jen yells at him. It's funny. Journey and Kevor, I'll be honest, it's kind of a running joke on my blog that I only call Kevor, like, Harturian Kid, because he's such a nothing character. I don't care about him. Don't care either way. For those who don't read the comics, there are 2 minor alien characters. Kevor is only notable because he ends up being the second Omega Yellow Ranger after Trini becomes Red. And Journey is, like, Zack and Trini's adopted alien kid who dies. It's, like, a whole thing. And they have, like, a brief little thing. Like, it was cute. Then it got weird because Journey's whole thing is that they can age really rapidly. So it's like you'll have them being cute together as teens, and then the next issue, Journey will age into an adult, and it's like, back up a bit. But yeah, they were fine, I guess, but Journey isn't in the comics long enough for them to really make an impression. And then after the Charge to 100 event, after Journey dies, Kevor never brings them up again. So yeah, it just kind of felt like, well, that happened. Anyway, moving on. You know what I mean? So sorry guys, you never had much of a chance. Okay. I'm just gonna put them in there fine. Oh, I'm trying so hard to like think carefully about this. Obviously Kat and Tommy, they're not my thing. I could put them in don't care either way. But at the same time, I feel like okay, I know you probably all want to hear my like uncensored thoughts about Kat and Tommy, but I really don't want to start that. I will recognize that if not for my biases, I would just acknowledge that them in the show, they're fine. They're like any typical Power Rangers romance, and if everything with Tommy and Kim didn't happen before them, it would be whatever. Like, I wouldn't really think twice about them because they're a very typical Power Rangers romance, and there's nothing offensive about them. There's nothing bad about them. I just hate everything they stand for. And honestly, a lot of my really big dislike for them is because of certain writing choices nowadays that you see in in like Once and Always and like Soul of the Dragon, and just you can tell that Kat is the you can tell that Kat is not the priority in the Kat-Tommy marriage when the writers want to tackle it, or when they do, when she is, they like overcompensate with her. Because like you'll have Soul of the Dragon, which is obviously all about Tommy, and then it's all about how JJ like inherits his stuff. And if you haven't read Soul of the Dragon, it's really, Kat is like barely a factor. She's there to like support Tommy in one scene, and then she's out of the book, and then she comes back in the end with like a gun. And I know it sounds cool, but it's like when you look at it in the full context of this is a book about Tommy dealing with his life after being a ranger, and he's distant from his son. And you're like, where is his wife? Why aren't you including Kat in this? And also, what is Kat's life like in general? Like, what does she do? And they don't really talk about that because that's not what they care about. And it's the same thing with Once and Always, how, like, Kat is the focus, but that's only because they managed to get Catherine Sutherland back. And even then, we know nothing about her besides the fact that she's Tommy's wife and the mother of his kid. And I mean, that's not just a problem. That's not just a Kat problem, because it was a similar thing with how they wrote Trini in that special. We never find out anything about what Trini's like life was besides being Min's mother. So that's just a general sexism problem in general. Both adult women in that special, their main achievements in life were that they were mothers. I know Aisha was in the special too. She was an SPA agent, but that doesn't count. She was barely in it, and we don't even know what SPA is. So like, as a whole, just in a vacuum, especially in like the original show, Kat and Tommy are fine. But I hate how they are now, because it's like the writers are like, okay, the writers obviously want to focus on Tommy and his legacy with his son, and Kat is just the means to the end with being the one who gave Tommy a son. And especially since like JJ is like Tommy too, with how he's a green SPD ranger with the dragon shield, and there was that whole drama with the ranking system. And it's like, well, not only should JJ have been a pink ranger because Z and Sid should be higher rank than him, but he also could have been a pink ranger with the dragon shield as like a combination of both their legacies. Like, but he's clearly only meant to be Tommy's legacy, and that's weird to me that they would do that, and Kat just gets left behind, especially since like there have been between Soul of the Dragon and then that wedding vows story in that one collection, we've had 2 future Tommy and Kat stories, and Kat doesn't morph in any of them, and I think that's just weird. I don't like the choices being made there. So this was less of a here's how I feel about Tommy and Kat, and more of a here's how I feel about Kat's treatment in modern stuff. But you know, that's just how it goes. It feels like you can't talk about Kat without talking about her inevitable fate of being Tommy's wife and mother of Tommy's kid. And that's sad. That just kind of sours things for me. Though again, it wouldn't take much for them to sour me on Tomcat, because I really don't like them. So putting them in They're Fine feels kind of like a lie, but I could put them in Painful to Watch because maybe it is painful, but I don't feel good putting them next to Candace Skull, whom I actually like hate. They're fine. I can ignore. I just try to like ignore them as much as I can. Anyway, Kim, Matt, painful. Or should I put it? No. Okay. You want to talk about a ship I actually hate? It's anything to do with this terrible man. Painful. Yeah, I hate this. They're terrible. And I mean, the one thing they have above Candace and Skull is that they are actually broken up. But in general, whenever Kim talks to Matt, it's even when they're broken up and just platonic friends, it's terrible. I hate it. They're awful. He's awful to her. It's one of the, in general, Matt is one of the worst things to come out of the comics. And I hate it. I hate them. He treats her like garbage, but for some reason the issues want us to think that he's the one who's been through the most terrible time. And it's like, well, you made Kimberly cry, so I think you should just die. You know, it's just that simple. Ugh. And I hate how he takes up like a good chunk of her screen time after he joins the team. And I have a whole video on why this character sucks. I feel like I don't need to go into it in a ship tier video. Just know that I hate them. Well, I hate him. I hate how he treats her. I hate how they try to insist that he's like super important to her when he's not, or he shouldn't be, because he's awful. I wish he'd died. Anyway, Kim and Tommy, yay! Love them forever. I feel like one day I need to make a video just why this silly romance from a TV show in the 90s has like my entire life. Because I think talking about them is just too much for one video that's already over an hour long. Jesus. But just know they're my favorites forever. Number one, the only ones for me. I could talk about them for hours, and I love them. Speaking of Tomberly, Kira and Trent. Okay, I really do love Kira and Trent, but I think I gotta put them in cute but missing something, because don't get me wrong, they're really, really good. I really love them. Honestly, I don't really, they have to be like intentional parallels to Tomberly, right? Like there's no way they made the pterodactyl and the Drago, whatever, ranger like love interests, and he's like evil and she tries to help him. Like that had to be intentional, right? I'm not crazy. And like they're really good. The setup is really good. They have like a cute intro. They have really good scenes together. I love the scene where Trent's evil and he attacks Kira, but when he recognizes her, he stops. Like, I live for that. It's great. But then it's like the show forgot that they existed. Like, it forgot that they were supposed to be a romance. And that's super disappointing to me. It kills my enjoyment a little, because it's like, okay, now Trent's on the team, so what are we going to do with him and Kira? And I guess part of it is because, by the end of Dino Thunder, Trent's whole thing became, his dad being a dinosaur monster. But it's like, did you have to take away the Kira-Trent romance in order to do that? Are the two mutually exclusive? I don't know. So, like, I love them. I think they deserve better. So, yeah. They just should have... If they had kept going with Kira and Trent, they would have been, like, I think a slam dunk in terms of Disney-era romances. Because Disney-era was kind of lacking when it came to romance. Speaking of Dino Thunder romance, Tree Girl and Connor, don't care. I mean, what can I say? They're fine. That's how it is sometimes with these one-off romances. They happen and you're like, okay, I guess. Liambo and Udana, yeah, they're fine. I think they're cute. They're cute because they're like two old people in love. It's endearing. We don't have that a lot in Power Rangers, so that novelty is there. I wish they could have had more scenes together. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Lily and Phineas. Oops. No, I don't like that version in my head. I never think about them ever. I think I'm going to put them in don't care either way. Because, I mean, it didn't... It's another thing that where it didn't have to happen. It kind of felt like just an instance of, Mystic Force caring more about its side characters than its Rangers. Because it's like, why couldn't Lily's love interest be one of the Rangers? Why did we have to give Phineas a love interest? And why did it have to be Lily? So it's like, okay, Mystic Force in general cared a lot more about its world building than its Rangers, which, is cool and all, but it just kind of, which was good for, like, making it seem like its own, its own thing and making its world seem more alive. But I don't know. I wasn't watching the series going, wow, it would make Phineas a more endearing character if he had a girlfriend. I don't know. Speaking of Mystic Force romances that are good, Maddie and Nick. I love Maddie and Nick. I think, people give Nick a bad rap, but he and Maddie, they were really cute. They had a good dynamic. I like how every time he was even slightly mean to her, everyone was like, shut up, Nick. And he was like, oh, no, Maddie. And he, just in general, I like what they do. Also, they look really cute together. What more can I say? They're just really good. I like them a lot. Mara and Dustin, yeah, they're fine. I like the idea of Mara and Dustin. I wish they could have done more with them. Because I don't really think it goes anywhere after that one episode, which is kind of a shame. Especially since Blake and Tori were so good. I was kind of hoping Ninja Storm would, I hope Ninja Storm would have done more with, that. But it was, like I said, it was cute. I wish they had done more. Marina and Chad. I don't want to say I don't care. I guess I'll put them in there fine too. it's I mean, if we're being real, Marina and Chad are Sestra Billy if Sestra Billy was good. Blue Ranger's marrying a fish. I like how weird it is. I like how completely random it is. I mean, it's not even really random because Lightspeed Rescue was dealing with demons. So it's like, if demons exist, why can't mermaids? So I just wish I was in the writer's room when they were like, hey, Chad should have a girlfriend and it should be a mermaid. And everyone was like, yeah. Like that gif of the rapper, surrounded by that crowd of cheering people. So yeah, cute for what it is. It's definitely one of the more memorable one-off love interests, even just for that. Oh yeah, no, painful. Oh no, Matt and Aisha, terrible. Oh my god. Okay. I talked about this a little in like my Matt and Darkest Hour videos, but Matt and Aisha is such a terribly written couple, and not even because it's like and not even terrible in the way that like Kim and Matt were terrible, because like Kim and Matt was terrible because he was awful to her and they wanted us to ignore that. But Matt and Aisha are terrible because it is probably the most forced romance I have ever seen, and maybe in Power Rangers in general, because like, for those who don't read the comics, Matt becomes like the new Green Ranger, which is terrible in its own thing, but I'm not going to rant about that here. Matt becomes the new Green Ranger while, in the MMPR V2 team. So Adam, Rocky, and Aisha have been Rangers for a while, and he joins the team, and they're Rangers together for a while. And Matt and Aisha never interact at all. They have no scenes together. They have no particular friendship together, compared to how like the comics had Matt and Rocky be like a close pair. So like, that was one thing. But then in the final event, suddenly, randomly, Matt and Aisha have like crushes on each other. And it's like, where did this come from? This came out of nowhere. It is like the epitome of Aisha's a single girl and Matt's a single guy, so they like each other. Especially since Matt's like, oh, I like you, Aisha, because you're a replacement like me. You're not a replacement, you stupid. And what makes it worse, besides it being out of nowhere, is that this romance takes up all of Aisha's story in the event, because like, and Aisha never had much story in the comics to begin with. We never saw like her family life. We never saw, she kind of switched personalities depending on the writer. So Aisha was never really a well-developed character. But then the Darkest Hour event made Matt like the ultimate sad boy, and then Aisha's role becomes being like his supportive therapist girlfriend, and it is just so painful to watch, because you'll have Matt have realistic panic attacks or whatever, and Aisha will be the one to comfort him, and she'll be like, oh, I went to therapy for anxiety when I was a kid. I'll teach you ways to deal with it. And it's like, what do you mean you had therapy as a kid? You never talked about this before. There was nothing. We never got anything on Aisha, but now suddenly they're making up random character traits for her out of nowhere to justify being Matt's love interest. And that's so awful. It's awful for her. And, oh my god. Oh my god. Literally the only perk that came from this is that, it stopped any idea that Matt and Kim could possibly get back together. But I hate that we had to sacrifice Aisha for it. I wish when Matt confessed she would have rejected him, it actually would have been somewhat different and actually would have had Matt not get what he wanted for like the first time in these entire books. It came out of nowhere. It destroyed what little character Aisha had, because suddenly she was all about this guy she had never spoken to before in her life. And I will say it again, I wish he just died. It was, you have Rocky and Adam got corrupted, but, Aisha's off skipping and dancing with Matt, and awful. It's terrible. I hate it so much. Ugh, Aisha just deserved better in these comics in general. And she's also a lesbian, by the way. She's gay. Ugh. I need to calm down. American Shayla. I really liked American Shayla, actually. I think I'm gonna love them. American Shayla. I know I talked all about how Jen and Wes, I wish they had kept their tragic ending. I would have liked them more. And that's kind of how I feel with American Shayla. Because, I mean, admittedly, it was a little nonsensical that Shayla had to go back to sleep once the season was over. But, you know, I liked that they committed to their tragic end. But no, also I think I'm slightly biased because Princess Bodyguard ships are always great. I don't care who you are. I don't care how weird Merrick was. It was great. You know, so yeah, I think I really like them. Because I think Wild Force also had Eric and Taylor, yeah. So yeah, I don't know, Wild Force was pretty good with the romances. Mike and Tanya, this is a weird one. Do I want to... yeah. I think I'm going to say girl dump him. He's too old for you. Because this was I guess for some context, they were only together for one story arc. It was like an event after Shattered Grid where a bunch of rangers from across the seasons, they were captured by Draken, but then they get cut off from everyone and sent to another dimension. It's a very simplified summary of Beyond the Grid, but that's basically what happens. And Ranger Slayer commands this team made up of her, Andros, Heckle, Mike, Magna Defender Mike, Tanya, and who else? Oh, and Cam. Yes, Cam. And along the way, Mike and Tanya fall in love. But then, like, at the end of it, they go back to their regular worlds, and there's, like, a big reset. None of them remember what happened. So it's basically like Mike and Tanya never happened in the first place. But it did. And it... and I don't really know what to think. Because, I mean, it was cute. It was cute and all, but there's always that underlying question of, like, why are we pairing up Mike and Tanya? How old is Mike? Because I want to make it clear that the comics changed up the timeline of MMPR. So, like, the MMPRs, as they were in season 1, they're, like, 17-ish during Shattered Grid. So, if Tanya is in her Zeo form, she's probably over 18. And we don't know Mike's age. So, like, I mean, it's still definitely, like, an age difference. So I don't know. I think I should mention that, like, Shattered Grid also teased something between Jason and Lauren. I don't have it on here because it wasn't enough to really count as, like, a real romance, but they were very obviously teasing something. But then it had to stop because they found that Lauren was really 25. So, like, that implies that they recognize ships with weird age gaps like that and don't allow them. So I don't know what they were thinking with Mike and Tanya. So yeah, I think girl should just dump him to be safe. just until we get this figured out. King Mondo, Queen Machina, I don't care. It's Zeo, I don't care. I don't care about Zeo. Oh, speaking of don't care, Nadira and Joe. If you haven't watched Hyperforce, Nadira, Ranzik's daughter from Time Force, she and Joe, the green Hyperforce Ranger, they get married. It's just as random as you would think. And, like, I wouldn't say I liked it better at the time, but like I accepted it more at the time because that was when Hyperforce wasn't confirmed to be canon to the show timeline, or like, you know, canon in general. It's like back when I thought Hyperforce was just like a for fun, bonus thing that wasn't canon to anything. So I was just like, haha, yeah, if I was playing a Power Rangers D&D game, I would totally like ship myself with my Power Rangers crush, which is Magna Defender. So like, haha, yeah, good for him. But then Hyperforce was canon, and then Nadira and Joe were canon, and it was like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. Yeah, I don't care enough about Hyperforce to know anything about them as a ship. And in the Ranger Academy comics, Nadira has 2 kids. One is Mathis and Joel. And what's kind of interesting is they don't say who the dad is. I mean, like, you'd think it's probably Joe, since their marriage has been kind of consistently referenced throughout the franchise. But I just think it was interesting that they never said who the dad was. So, like, I don't know, they could have divorced, who knows. Oh, speaking of which, I'm just going to put them next to each other. Nadira and her 2 love interests. Because, yeah, I guess Nadira and Lucas, that was another reason why the Nadira and Joe marriage was so random to me, because, like, you could have chosen any other villainess who was single, because there are a lot of single villainesses in this franchise, but you went with the one who already technically has a love interest. And like, I'm not saying Nadira and Lucas are like this big fan favorite romance, but like, they did exist. I'm just surprised that they allowed this to happen. But what do I know? I'm no expert in making self ships canon. Ori and Alea, I really love them. They're from the miniseries Power Rangers Universe, which basically describes the origins of Ranger powers in general. And they use I guess you probably would know it if you haven't heard of it. You probably know it. It's the book that uses the Squadron Rangers, aka the Die Rangers from Sentai. The characters in here turn into the Squadron Rangers. Obviously Ori is the blue one, Alea is the pink one. They're really, really cute. I really love them. They had really sweet moments together. I wish they could have gotten more. I wish the series didn't completely destroy their characters, but that's very big spoilers. I encourage you to read it yourself and find out. Also, you'll get to see Ori and Alea interact, and they're really, really cute. I really like them. Phantom Ranger and Cassie, I love them. And I will admit, this is totally fan service on my account, because if you know me, you know I love sexy suits, and I love that there is a canon romance in Power Rangers between a regular woman and a sexy suit. Yeah, it's really shallow, but that is the basis of my love for them. And I mean, they were cute too. They had good interactions. But I'm not gonna lie and say I wish TJ and Cassie could have been like a canon ship. I will admit, like, I think in the end, if I had to choose between Phantom Ranger and Cassie or TJ and Cassie, I would choose TJ and Cassie. But I like Phantom Ranger and Cassie for what it is, and that's really all I have to say about that. Ravi and Roxy. I think I'm gonna say I like the version in my head, because I like Ravi and evil Roxy more. I'm sorry, they should have played up Ravi and evil Roxy more. Like, Ravi and regular Roxy are fine, they're whatever. If it was just them, I'd put them in there fine, or maybe you don't even care either way, because they're really not that exciting as a couple. But Ravi and evil Roxy, just like how Amelia and Ollie were better when Ollie was evil, they were better. They should have done more with Evil Roxy, because like they had that one episode where she pretended that she loved him, but it was just a fake. And no, she should have loved him for real. I deserved the drama between Evil Roxy still having feelings for Ravi. I think that would have been so fun and so juicy and so dramatic, and I just live for that kind of stuff. Okay, next is Trini and Richie. I know I said before they're the beautiful butch femme lesbian couple to me. I think for that reason I'm going to put them I like the version in my head. Because I mean, like, besides that, you know, they're unremarkable. Everybody knows that Richie and Trini never goes anywhere and never does anything interesting. And it's like, yeah, you know, it's true. But at the same time, it's also a shame that modern stuff never does anything with Richie and Trini. They never try to give it anything more. Like how I said, you know, Trini doesn't have a partner with Min, and the comics don't have Richie at all. They have Trini shuffling between Jason and Zach. And then like, on the one hand, I get it. No one really likes Richie and Trini. But also, like, you know, you guys couldn't even try to do anything interesting with them both. You couldn't even, like, acknowledge that they existed. I don't know. I know Richie was nothing. He was just a White Ranger fake out, but, you know, he didn't have to be. Ryan and Valentina from the new Power Rangers Prime series, girl, dump him. He's a fascist cop. Dump him. I don't care. I don't care what kind of personality you have. Even we don't really know Valentina's deal yet. It's too early in the series. But Ryan is a fascist cop. He's awful. He doesn't deserve happiness. He doesn't deserve love. Dump him. Salem and Maxie, the new Solar Rangers. Yeah, they're fine. They're another couple where we just don't get enough time with them to really get invested. Because I swear to God, they only come in the last 2 issues of the main series. But like I said, they're cute. I like their designs. Obviously they're the only canon, gay man romance in the franchise that are both Rangers. Yeah, I think they're the only 2 men to be in a romance that are both Rangers in this franchise. Maybe even the only 2 men to be in a relationship in general. Because Rocky and Adam is ambiguous. That wasn't really anything compared to how these 2 are, like, actually a couple. So they deserve props for that. Just another list of ways of stuff in Darkest Hour that got wasted. I wish Solar Rangers could have gotten so much more. But that's its own thing. That's not a ship thing. Shelby and Tyler, love them. Oh my gosh, Shelby and Tyler. They are one of the best romances in the series. They are so cute. They're so good. I love them so much. I think they're funny. I think they're adorable. They're both hot. You know, where you can't go wrong. And I love them. Sledge and Poisandra, honestly, I kind of love them. I think they're really funny. Dino Charge in general is just really good with its characters. But Sledge and Poisandra, they're like one of the few villain couples that are actually like really good and really funny. I like how even though they're like dysfunctional, they still really love each other. It's not totally a guy annoyed by his wife thing that Zed and Rita could lean into, but they definitely do feel like a modern day Zed and Rita. I think that's cute. I think that's endearing. Sophie and Bridge, I actually did really like Sophie and Bridge. Like, I think they're probably one of the best written one-off romances. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, she was a romance. It was intended to be. And I mean, if you know that, what was it called? Oh God, it was like that Power Rangers SPD. Was it like a Fire Squad or something? I don't know. It was one of those concepts that Jason Bischoff, who was like a former head of Power Rangers, it was like a concept where like Bridge and Sophie were engaged. And like if you're going to say that Bridge and Sophie were engaged, then I'm going to assume that means they were intended as a romance. I'm not going to go further into that fire squad concept because I really don't like it. I think it's very bad. It treats women very badly because actually Sophie in that concept, she gets destroyed and like she gets uploaded to Bridge's armor or whatever. Like that's really bad. That's an awful case of fridging a woman. But anyway, I don't care about that right now. That's not the point of this. The point is just that obviously someone else saw that as someone else. It just meant that someone else saw Sophie and Bridge as romantic. So it's not just me being crazy. But they were actually really cute. I wish Sophie could have come back and done more. And yeah, they I don't know. They just kind of clicked, I think, which is really sweet. And even though Bridge had to get over his racism, his cyborg racism, after that, it was really cute. And they could have done more with Sophie. They could have done more. They could have brought her back and made her and Bridge like a legit thing. And I wish they could have done that. I would have liked to see more of them. Summer and Dylan, I think I'm going to put them in there fine. They're like Jen and Wes to me, where it's like, yeah, obviously Summer and Dylan, they're like one of the most well-known, most popular Disney couples. And, they're fine. They do their job. Obviously, they're both acted really well. I guess it's just that Dylan got, a lot. The whole season was pretty much about Dylan. And Summer didn't get really much of anything besides the romance. And that kills it a little for me. It just kind of made her come off as like... I mean, Summer was a good character, but she just didn't have much to her besides being Dylan's girlfriend. So there's always that nagging feeling in the back of my mind where it's like, oh, they're really cute, but like I wish Summer could have more to her besides just being Dylan's supportive girlfriend. But I love the cave scene where they think they're about to die and then they kiss, or they almost kiss, like I'm not gonna pretend I'm above that. I liked it too. Oh, Theo and Lily. Oh my goodness. I need to put them in cute but missing something because let me explain. I do think Theo and Lily are really, really cute. I really like their dynamic. I really like their friends. Obviously the intention was a friends to lovers situation. I like that Theo had a crush on her. I think that was really, really cute. But I think this is like a reverse of the Andros Ashley thing where like I kind of didn't see Lily as liking Theo as much as Theo liked her. Like obviously they were best friends. I'm not saying that Lily didn't love him like a best friend. But I think they were more obvious with Theo's romantic feelings and they did a better job establishing Theo's romantic feelings than they did Lily's. Honestly, Lily always kind of came off like a lesbian to me. I think she and Camille clicked with me more, even though I do like Jared and Camille a lot. So that's just me. Obviously, that's just how I perceive things. If you love them like a couple, that's really awesome, and I totally understand. This is just my weird brain, how my brain perceived them. So, yeah. I wish they could have done more I wish they could have shown more of Lily's feelings towards Theo. If that had happened, then I would be way more into them romantically. Other than that, yeah. Okay, Trini and Zach. So this is the one I kept bringing up with Jason and Trini. So this is specifically Trini and Zach in the comics, because Trini and Zach as a romance actually comes up a lot. First, they were a thing in the 2016 Pink miniseries, where when they leave for Switzerland, they hook up. And then in the 2016 main series, in the last event, when they're Omegas together, they hook up. And I think I like them a lot in the Pink series because they were really cute in that, and like it was definitely out of nowhere, but it was the point. That was the point. They were intentionally out of nowhere because like the series was from Kim's perspective, and she hadn't seen her friends in a long time, and it was kind of the theme of the whole book that Kim's friends' lives were moving on without her, and so she had to move on too. So, like, Zach and Trini being a romance had a point. It didn't just feel like the author shipped them, so she forced them together because she could. Meanwhile, Trini and Zach in the 2016 series, it felt like they were being shipped because the author shipped them, and not because they had a reason to be together. Like, it didn't do anything new for their characters. In fact, I didn't really talk about this in my Darkest Hour review, but Zach really didn't get much of anything in the last event. His main role was just being Trini's supportive boyfriend, and it's like, yay, equality, but when you look at it from a full lens of how Zach never really got anything with the Omegas, like in general, it was just kind of a bad look. And for that matter, Zach and Trini's relationship in the 2016s, in the Darkest Hour, when they became a couple, they really were kind of boring, I'm sorry to say. Like, and it feeds back into the vibe that the author just put them together because she shipped them, because like they were so perfect. They were like obnoxiously perfect. Like they couldn't go like an issue without like, you know, finishing each other's sentences or like fighting together perfectly, and you'd have someone on the side going, oh my gosh, look at those two, they're just so in sync, isn't that great? And it's like, oh my god, I get it. You know, when it comes to writing romance, I don't like someone looking into the camera and telling me, wow, aren't they so good together? Like, I need you to prove to me that they're good together in a way that doesn't feel like in a way that doesn't feel like you're forcing me to think that. And like, so, and they I don't know, they just don't have anything interesting. They could have just stayed platonic and it would have changed nothing about the event. So I think I unfortunately have to put them in don't care either way, because like, again, if it was Pink, Zach and Trini, I would put them more in a positive category. But with the main series, Trini and Zach, it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, we can tell you shipped this, so now you're rewriting everything so that to make them seem to justify this decision. The one thing I can say is that I think it had a better build-up than Jason Trini in the same series, because like they had worked together for a long time before this as just friends, compared to how Go-Go Power Rangers started with Trini just being like super in love with Jason, and it's like you never really find out why she is so obsessed with him. Meanwhile, with Trini and Zach, like they've been working together for a long time platonically, and it's described as them like just kind of discovering their feelings for each other, which like is fine, but it just wasn't enough to justify to me that they needed to be romantic, especially since, like I said, Zach never gets anything. Zach gets nothing besides being Trini's new boyfriend, and they could have done and like they could have done more with their dynamic. They could have given them conflict. They could have tried to make them more interesting besides just being like, oh wow, they're just so great together, they're just so perfect, please accept that we're doing this now. And because like I have no problem with Trini dating two guys throughout the comics run, like that is not the problem, though I do think it is a little eye rolling that Trini was shipped with the two guys that she's most closely associated with. Like, I don't know, I think that kind of comes off like guys and girls can't just be friends, they have to hook up at some point. Like that's a little eye-rolling to me, but it's not like a deal breaker. So if they were, honestly, they should have been a a poly situation. That would have fixed everything for me. Taizan and Vela, don't care. You know, they're basically like Icinia and Doggy, where it's like, he has like a dead wife slash fiance. Oh, but wait, no, she's alive! Hooray! And it's like, okay, thanks for that, I guess. Though I guess I will give Vela something that she had a little more to her than Icinia did, who Icinia was like nothing. Well, but Vela did have more to her, but at the same time it is kind of like, okay, thanks for that, I guess. You know, I guess their reunion was nice. It's nice that Taizan got a win, but again, it's the same thing. She was just the reward for him at the end of the season. And, you know, if whenever there's like a dead wife, I'm going to be like, hey, why not make the dead wife the ranger, and then their boyfriend can be the lost Lenore who gets to come back at the end as like a surprise. Thanks for doing all that. Here's your spouse back. You know, let's change that up a little next time. Zach and Angela, I'm sorry, girl, dump him. Aw. Zach and Angela is, well, you know, it was a product of its time. It's another thing where it's kind of like Richie and Trini, where I wish modern adaptations could like work with it a little better and like make it better, you know, rather than, because it feels like with the comics they just kind of threw out Angela and Richie. I think Angela has like one panel in the comic in the 2016 main series where it's just like a cameo. But it's like, it felt like the modern comics just kind of threw out Richie and Trini. They didn't even try with them. And obviously Zach isn't married to Angela in Once and Always either. So it's like, which again, you guys referenced Billy and Sestria. You can bring up Billy and Sestria, but you can't bring up Zach and Angela or Richie and Trini. Come on. But yeah, but I'm not going to say Zach and Angela was handled well. It wasn't. It was kind of weird the way they did it. But like I said, it was, you know, it's definitely the most 90s of it was a very 90s trope. But you know, in the scenes where it was actually mutual, it was cute. And I think it's kind of cool that they were the only other ship besides Kim and Tommy to like kiss, you know, when they were like officially a thing, because, you know, for representation, in a representation point of view. But yeah, they didn't have to do what they did with Zach constantly chasing after her. That was weird. They shouldn't have done that. Yeah. And I need modern adaptations. They could have tried and fixed that. They could have rewritten it rather than erasing Angela completely. Zed and Rita, love them. Classic. I love them. They're hilarious. Everyone who's like, oh, it made Zed worse. No, it made Zed better. It was awesome. Zed became infinitely more entertaining when he had Rita to bounce off of. And I'm sorry he's not your super cool, you know, Emperor evil anymore. But like, I don't know. People have talked about this before, how it's like, oh no, Zed and Rita actually were a more effective team than they were separately, and it's true. And in general, their dynamic was super funny. They're always a treat to watch. And I think it's funny how the writers were like, oh shoot, we started this because of a love potion. That's kind of messed up. We should probably address that. And then they made Potion Ocean, which is one of the best episodes in the series. So, you know, a classic. Love them. I wish modern stuff like the comics didn't completely screw them up. And I love that Amy Jo Johnson gave them a daughter. It's really cute. And the final one, Zoe and Nate. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to put them in there fine, but I want to make it clear that, like, Zoe and Nate is so overhated by this fandom for, like, no reason. Like, I've seen the people target this harmless, like, least offensive ship of all time, and they treat it like it's like awful, and it's not. It's nothing. It's not even nothing in a bad way. It's like the most for babies ship in the franchise. It is the least offensive ship I've ever seen. But like, you go online and you'll see people think up the most wild reasons for why this ship shouldn't exist. I've seen people act like Zoe is like way older than Nate, which is something that's never hinted at ever on the show. People talk about how like they ruined Zoe's character by making her Nate's love interest, which like is debatable. The thing with Zoe, because like romance is never inherently a problem. And I don't think Zoe's romance with Nate, if Zoe didn't have a romance with Nate, it wouldn't have saved how she was written, especially in the second season. How about that? Like, if anything, Nate and Zoe's romance is what kept her from getting completely sidelined. So, like, and like, if you don't like it because you headcanon Nate as gay, then like, that's awesome. That's your prerogative. I don't care about that. But like, I don't know. I just see so much vitriol for this ship that never did anything bad to anyone. And like, I mean, come on, it's cute. I really, really love what establishes Nate as liking her, that he sends her these secret Valentine's Day flowers anonymously because he's shy, and also because their workplace doesn't allow romance. Like, I think that's really, really cute. I really love the idea of Nate having a secret crush on Zoe. The problem is really just that they don't follow up on it until the episode where suddenly she likes him too. And when they're together, they're cute. And I think they pull off their romance believably. But like, they could have had a lot more meat to it, and maybe people would be less weird about them if like they actually had better build up, like or they did more with the drama of the no relationships rule. Because like, it makes me mad because Beast Morphers sets up this whole thing with that Rangers aren't allowed to be in relationships together. And like, it drives plots like the Ravi Roxy relationship and then the Zoe Nate relationship. But like, they don't do enough with it, like in between the big romantic episodes, like I wish we could have seen them like dodging around each other for longer periods of time, like, or do more with it just between episodes. So it's not just being like, oh, Nate likes Zoe, that's really cute, and then nothing. And then, oh no, now Zoe likes Nate, but they have to keep this secret. Nothing. They reveal that they like each other. You know what I mean? I think if that had happened, people wouldn't have been so against this ship. But I don't know. It's just weird to target Zoe and Nate in general when the ship does nothing wrong. It's a very basic Power Rangers romance, but for some reason people really get aggressive when it comes to them. I don't know. Like, come on. They're literally doing a Lady and the Tramp noodle scene. Like, come on. Are you really gonna hit them? They're a little birthday boy, little birthday girl. They're not hurting anyone. See? Okay, and looks like that's everything. Everything looks pretty good. I hope everyone has a happy Valentine's Day. If you make your own list, feel free to share with me. I'd love to see. And as I said, I'm sure I'll be making more tier lists. I know I'll probably do I know at some point I'll definitely do like a comic Zord design maybe I'll do like comic suits in general. And, you know, like I said, if you have any suggestions on tier lists you'd like to see, let me know. This was fun to make, and probably future ones won't be quite as involved. Next month will finally be the Omega video, and that's going to be a monster, so be excited for that. And my link to my Ko-fi is in my description if you'd like to give me a tip. If you like my stuff, I'd love a tip, because as fun as these videos are to make, I don't make any money off of them. So thank you, and have a great day.